Hello, Jimmy here, and today I am in front of a different bookshelf, and we're talking about gender in reenactment. So gender is something of a hot topic these days, and unlike Hot Topic, it continues to spread as a subject of conversation all over the world at all different levels of society. And in historical reenactment, that's been the case as well. And that is the case in historical reenactment, where gender has been an issue for years, if not decades. And if you think that the idea of gender and history and archaeology is a new, woke subject that's only just appeared, you couldn't be more wrong, because in 1984, Conkey and Spector's article on gender in archaeology came out and started paving the way for the mainstream archaeological world to talk about gender and feminism, and in the decades before that, people were already talking about it. So in historical reenactment, gender is often quite a difficult subject to approach. A lot of people involved in historical reenactment are really cool and open-minded and keep up with the latest research and want everybody in their group to have a lovely time and to feel at home. Other people in reenactment don't necessarily, and kind of want things to be the way that they always have been, see it as a little bit of a mates club. They want things to be how they were when they first started in the 70s or early 80s, and they don't see why they should change the rules to make somebody else feel comfortable. And that kind of sucks, because as a hobby, we are in the 21st century, and if you say, why should we change anything? And that could be anything from your research methods to your clothes to your weapons. You start to look outdated and you start to look pretty bad. And to be good historical reenactors, we have to keep up with research. Historical research, just like scientific research, changes day by day. We get things wrong, we correct them, we find new things, we lose old things, and we have to redo stuff. And that happens in the sciences, that happens in medicine. We're not using leeches nearly as much as we used to, for example. In archaeology, gender has been a subject central to the discussion for years. In 2008, wow, that's 16 years ago. Oh wow. My first ever module on my first archaeology degree was Archaeology 101. In Archaeology 101, we had a class on sex and gender, where we said that you do not gender skeletons, you sex skeletons. Stop it. You're better than that. Pull yourselves together, especially you. It's a really complex issue. Like, people say, oh, sex and gender is just simple biology. Well, biology's not simple. Biology's really complex. That's why I got a B in it at A level. But in historical reenactment, I try to provide as clear and easy a set of advice and instructions to follow as I can, because I'm on YouTube, and that's kind of how it works. Unfortunately, when it comes to gender, that's something that I can't really provide you a blanket statement on, because gender's really complex, it's really individualized, and it's dependent on an awful lot of things. So gender is a social construct, it is an expression, and as a result of that, it's intangible, it's very fluid, it's very dynamic, it depends on what culture you're in, what aspect of that culture you're in, what time period of that culture you're living in, and it can change year on year, person to person, generation to generation. And that makes it really difficult to just give a statement on. So when, for example, somebody comes into my comments or asks me in an email, hey, I'm non-binary, I want to do historical reenactment, how do I do a non-binary Viking impression? I have to say, I don't really know, because we don't know how Old Norse people expressed the divergence from the gender binary, which we know that they had. There were male and female, man and women's things, like women's magic, seidr, being practiced by a man might make that man be othered, seen as strange, and yet we have graves that seem to diverge from that gender binary, where we have women buried with swords, for example. So, how does gender work in historical reenactment? Well, most societies don't care what gender you express nowadays in your modern, statistically likely to be Western culture, but they may remind you that they are portraying a period that may have had very different social mores. You might be reenacting a period like the 17th century, where a man dressing as a woman would have been abhorrent to many people. It was a very religiously focused period. It was a period of great tumult, a great violence. A lot of it was religious violence. And although in the sealed knot, you will see lots of women picking up muskets and picking up pikes and drums and riding into battle on horseback and operating cannon, they will be dressed in what in the 17th century would have been seen as men's clothes. Breeches, doublet, big floppy hat. And we're going to talk a little bit more once you've watched this. Hello. You find me filming outside on my internet-capable mobile device, and like other internet-capable devices like laptops and computers, phones are susceptible to scams and internet censorship and that kind of stuff. And that's why my internet-capable mobile device that I am holding in my hot little hand right now has a VPN. And it's NordVPN. NordVPN, I hear you cry, the ones who sponsor all the big YouTubers. The very same. And NordVPN is really cool. It allows you to do things like convince your device that you're somewhere else in the world. So I like to pretend that I'm in Moldova when I watch YouTube, because it means that I get less adverts, because YouTube doesn't run ads in Moldova the same way as they do in the UK. It also allows you to do cool stuff like watch streaming services from other countries that you might not otherwise have access to, and get around all of that nasty internet boundary and border stuff that's going on that nobody really likes and it doesn't really make any sense. Also, if you go to www.nordvpn.com/Welsh and you use the code Welsh at the checkout, you get 4 months free on a 2-year subscription, which is a pretty good deal. And the way you do that, as I say, go to nordvpn.com/Welsh, use the code Welsh at checkout, and you can use it on your phone, your tablet, iOS, Android, whatever it may be. Use it on your laptop, you can use it on your PC, use it on all sorts of cool devices. And it's a really handy thing to have. I've got it, I've genuinely got it on this phone and on my laptop. So go to www.nordvpn.com/Welsh, get yourself 4 months free. If you don't like it, which seems unlikely, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. So win-win, go do it. In terms of things like the medieval period and medieval reenactment and Viking Age reenactment, a lot of the time I say to people, well, a dress is just a tunic without the rucking, and it can work, but more often than not, I kind of have to just sort of slump a little bit and say, well, I can't really help, because you now, as a 21st century person, express gender in a certain way, and that is totally fine, and 1,000 years ago, doing what you're doing may or may not have resulted in serious discrimination. Hell, doing it now can result in serious discrimination, and if that's happened to you or you've experienced that kind of discrimination, then I'm really sorry, that sucks. And reenactment should be a place, a safe hobby, where you can go, whoever you are, and dress up in fun, silly clothes from the past. And in some societies, like, for example, the SCA, the Society for Creative Anachronism, there is a lot of flexibility in terms of bending gender, and the way that gender was expressed through clothing in the past is very flexible and very loose, and the rules are much, much looser. In some reenactment societies that are public-facing or educationally based, for example, you may be required to I mean, it used to be called bobbing up, because it was like Bob from Blackadder, where a woman dresses like a man. You may be required to effectively pick a gender expression, because we just don't have evidence from the period of how people diverged from the Western gender binary. In some periods we know that was being enforced very strongly, and yet in other periods we know that the Romans had priests who didn't conform to the gender binary as a religious requirement. You may be encouraged to pursue stuff like that. Somebody I know does one of those impressions, and it's absolutely amazing, and they kind of find these really cool ways to express that gender diversity in the past. And that's also something that you may find yourself doing if you think, well, I really want to see how a non-binary impression could work in the Viking Age. You may find some amazing evidence you may find stuff that the archaeologists have dug up, that the historians have found, things that people have overlooked, and you may come up with a fantastic new impression that helps to push that boundary, that helps to push the way that we understand gender expression in our hobby, and as an extension of that, in the past. And I hope that that is something that some of you guys are doing right now. If that's something that you feel that you are doing, let us know in the comments. Let us know if we can go and see your impressions and that kind of stuff. That'd be amazing. But yeah, in terms of what I think, because I've got to start putting opinions into these videos apparently, I don't care how you express your gender in the modern age. And if you want to reenact a period where that wasn't an option, then I want to do everything in my power to help. And so, to everybody who's been asking me how they can do a non-binary Viking impression, Opus Elenai, her video is really cool that she's done on making some non-binary appropriate kit, so I'll link down to that in the description, but also whack out a tunic, long as you like, nice long tunic, below the knee if you can get enough cloth, tunic, cloak, maybe a few beads strung around your neck. Everybody can wear a knife, everybody can wear a belt, everybody wears shoes. Pair of pants under the shoes, pair of leg wraps above the shoes, why not? Keep your legs nice and warm. Doesn't specifically say any gender in particular to me. If you're a beardy person, again, if you want to wear a dress, I don't see why anybody should have a problem with it. In an Old Norse reenactment context, like I say, it's likely that such things were seen. How that would have been treated in the period, we do not know. If it's a public reenactment, somebody comes up to you and says, but you're a man wearing a dress, you can say, actually, I'm non-binary, and in the period, we don't know how gender expression would have worked, but this is how I am comfortable dressing right now, this is my hobby, and hopefully that's where it gets left, and you get the support of your reenactment group. And I know that I owe you guys a dress video. It is inbound. Full disclosure, I cocked it up, so the dress didn't work, so now I have to make myself a new dress. But yeah, the cloth is hopefully going to be arriving fairly soon for that. Diolch yn fawr iawn am wylio. Thank you so much for watching. Diolch o galon am fod yma. Thank you very much for just being here. As ever, if you want to support the channel financially, we have the Patreon links, we have the coffee links down in the description. If you just want to like and subscribe, please do like and subscribe. So thank you very much indeed. Tan o tro nesa, till the next time, hwyl fawr. Bye bye.